life, where we're at this particular moment, is literally a series of a million different choices that we've made. And a lot of them are just so insignificant. You don't even recognize it. When we think back at some of those regrets that we had, you make one decision. Well, in this you're in this room versus this room, and in that room you talk to this person, and you might have thought that conversation that you had was really insignificant, but it's not. And it's you miss the ripple effect of those other people that you're not interacting with.
Welcome to Lead Like a Girl, where we are empowering everyday women through our stories. I'm your host, Jessica Smith, and I began this journey by sharing my life story. Now, I've joined forces with my longtime friends, Jamie and Coralyn, to keep this party going. We met many years ago as young sales girls in our 20s, driven and quickly rising to the top of our industry. As the years went on, life happened, and we all found ourselves in new companies and completely different industries, still striving for success in it all. Career, family, faith, fun. Now, it wasn't easy, but we never stopped moving. Get ready for our real conversations, inspiring stories, and our big life lessons as we share it all. The good, the bad, and the funny. Welcome to Lead Like a Girl.
Welcome back to another episode of Lead Like a Girl. I am your host, Coralyn, and as always, I'm here with my two very, very best friends, Jamie and Jessica. We are coming to you live again from a Saturday morning. Good morning, ladies. How are you?
Good morning.
Oh,
Good
I'm so
morning.
glad I was wrong and it was 9 and not 8.
What did you do with your extra hour?
Jessica, as soon as Jessica and I got on this morning, she's like, "What time did you get up?" I'm like, "I rolled out of bed 20 minutes ago."
You look pretty good for a 20-minute wake-up call,
That's
ladies.
what I said.
I love to sleep.
You got this down to science. So before we hop into it, Jessica, I got to call you on the carpet. So we were talking the other day, and you had said something that I just want to take 1 minute and unpack this. But I had mentioned that I was reading this book that we're going to talk about today, and your instant comment was, where do you find time to read? Like, I want to read, I want to work out, I want to go on a boat, I want to be outside. What are you doing that keeps you so busy that those things are not on the table for you?
Yeah, I'm making bad decisions. That's what I have to say.
Aw.
Yeah, I I met these two high school kids starting school the other day at Walmart, and the grandmother said, "Give them some advice." And I said, "How did you know I love giving advice?" And I looked at the kids, I said, "Make good decisions. We're all one good or bad decision away from changing our lives." And the kid looked at me like I just said, his eyes. That's how he
Like you're
looked
the
for.
president and that was a speech.
And I just love the look on his face. Anyway, that reminded me that I'm just not prioritizing. There's just all the things that are always to me more important. And then I look up and it's 10 o'clock and I'm out of energy and it's time to go to bed. So I have to figure out a way to get a handle on what's important in my day and putting that time aside.
Mm-hmm. No, I hear that. I This summer I decided that I want to be a person who reads summer books. And so I was sitting with my sister-in-laws earlier this year, and I said, they read a lot. And so I just tell me the best books. Like, I don't want to waste my time reading a book that I thought was so. So can you give me a list of fiction books that will keep me engaged, that I want to finish the end? And so they have been giving me, I've got a list of maybe 5 books that I'm trying to work my way through. I don't know if I'm going to get through all of them this summer, but that was kind of my motivation. Like, I set it like a mini goal of being a summer reader this year. And so I'm just working. So to answer your question, it's been intentional, and I've been trying to stop the doom scrolling before I go to bed. And this is my solution to that, is that I've got a book on my nightstand. My phone is off across the room. I got a alarm clock, and I have a book on my nightstand that I read before I go to bed. And sometimes I have enough energy in my eyes to read about a paragraph before my eyes are shutting and my brain is wandering. So just enough to put me to bed and go to bed in a better way. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
want to send you a picture of my nightstand because I have a book on my nightstand.
what page are you on?
I love to read. Who knows?
Yeah.
I love it. It's like I love the problem, and I think this probably is, both of you guys probably can relate to this, but the problem is, like, I sit down, like Brad can sit and read and he's fine. I'll sit and read like 3 pages and I like look up and then I'm like, oh, I should go do that.
yes.
And I'll look over here and I'm like, I gotta go do that.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, I can't sit still long enough to like really get to, and so I just keep rereading like the same like 4 pages because I'm like, okay, what was happening? Because
yeah. And I'm sure there's medication for that, but it's
well, I'll just medicate myself. I'll be fine.
But Coralyn, and here's the thing too, when you say, so you had that reason, you're like, I want to stop doom scrolling, right? Here's my challenge is that I don't view what I do as doom scrolling because I'm a weirdo where I'm scrolling looking for someone who needs help. And every time I log in, I have 10 messages. I feel like an hour in LinkedIn. If I'm looking on Facebook and I'm scrolling, someone says something, I'm like, oh my God, is she okay? And I'm sending someone a message saying, I just read your post. And so I feel like, I don't know, what the hell? Do I think I'm some superhero or something? Like I just look
you are a superhero.
You're a superhero.
Well,
that's what it is.
Off because
we figured it out.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Mine
that's
is
why
more entertainment. I'm looking for jokes and memes and like how I can send something funny to my brother that puts him in his place a little bit, like that kind of stuff.
Well, there you
and
go.
Other things, I suppose. Education. I go on whatever.
Yeah.
Blah blah. I'm trying to not have the blue light before I go to bed.
Right.
All right. So, ladies, what we're going to talk about today is this book that I read. It's called The Midnight Library, and it's a great read. So this is not going to be a book club recap, but the concept of the book I thought would be great for us to unpack. And so and I'm not going to spoil the ending, but we'll talk a little bit about some points in the book that I feel like it would be fun for you guys to go through. So the concept of the book is this lady, her name is Nora. She is just in the swamps of sadness. Her life sucks per her, and she decides that maybe she wants to end her life prematurely, right? And so she wakes up so she does this. She takes a bunch of pills, and she wakes up in this midnight library. So it's kind of like a purgatory type of a situation or something, wherever she's at. But she's in this library where it's a whole library full of all of her life choices. So an infinite amount of books where if she would have made one other decision in life, this is the way that your life would go. If I would have talked to that guy at the coffee shop, if I would have pursued athletics harder in high school, if I would have got that job versus the other job. And so the whole book is talking about how sometimes we have regrets in life, and then thinking about how you go back in time and maybe you daydream about how you think your life would be better if you would have made that decision better, or if life would have happened in a little different way. How does that play out in reality? So this is what we're going to talk about today. It's crazy. Neat. And it actually is it's kind of funny. Like there's different things that happen and you kind of get to know some of the characters in the book. So it's just not about this girl, but you kind of, it's a good read. So if you're looking for a good read, I do recommend this.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds very, very interesting. Like, I don't think I've read a book that kind of followed that same path, but does it have, you said she's like in like a quote unquote purgatory, like is there a Christian undertone or no?
No, not at all. It's just okay. where you go when she's in this kind of, ethereal place where she's just in the mix between, she's not dead yet, but she's not in the land of the living, so she's there, but it's not alive, not at all.
Past. Yep.
Before we hop into the book, though, I've got a first minute fast question for you. So, real quick, would you rather get to do one decision in your life, so a decision from your past, or would you rather just that decision that you're thinking of? Would you rather just like have it erased from your memory? What would you rather do?
Wait,
So
Wait,
the question
well,
is like, think of something where you wish, like, oh man, if I would have done that differently, or if I would have made a better choice, would you rather went back and change that decision, or just
okay.
stop thinking about it and not have it kind of keep popping up in your? Would you rather have the moment erased, or would you rather relive it and just make
I'd
more
I
rather
would
have
memories?
it
have,
erased.
yeah, me too. There we go. Same, same,
Why?
same.
Yep.
Why? I knew she was going to say that. Um,
Quick,
no,
like
I
quick.
do,
Why?
yeah, I don't do, and I don't, maybe it's just me. I don't do a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. I feel like we're exactly where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. And I try not to make crazy decisions, but I feel like even the decisions that feel like they were bad decisions, God made a way for me to grow and learn from them. So I don't, I see the path. I feel like I'm always like, just trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
But the thinking about them sometimes gets on my damn nerves. So I would
Yeah.
rather just erase it, but I don't think I would change it because I know it was part of something.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same. It's like you can't go back and change it. So why am I thinking about it? Like, just stop thinking about it. I can't
Right.
do anything else. I can't do anything about it.
It's
So just stop thinking about
inefficient
it.
to
It is
try to think.
inefficient.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
only have so much thinking in a
Yeah.
day to get done. And
Yeah.
that's
I have millions and trillions of thoughts.
I have so many
Right.
thoughts.
Right.
And that doesn't need to be one of them.
Well, to your point, I mean, that's what it is. Our whole life, where we're at this particular moment, is literally a series of a million different choices that we've made to
Yes.
get them. And a lot of them are just so insignificant, you don't even recognize it. It's like this was a choice that you made.
Right.
And so what we say yes to, what we didn't say yes to, even just making a non-choice is a choice, right? The delay of decision making, that's also a choice that
Yep.
we make. And so here's the thing. So this is the number one, this is one of the quotes that I got from this book, and it just kind of sitting on this idea. So in the book it says, doing one thing differently is often the same as doing everything differently. Because when we think back at some of those regrets that we had, or maybe some of those other choices that we've made, it's sometimes we play it out in our mind that, okay, if I would have done this thing differently, this is how I can see it playing out, because you just rationalize that everything else in your life would have followed suit. But one of the things that it talks about in the book is that you make one decision. Well, you're in this room versus this room, and in that room you talk to this person, and you might have thought that conversation that you had was really insignificant, but it's not. And it's, you miss the ripple effect of those other people that you're not interacting with. That makes sense. And so
Yeah.
it's like all the things that you decided that you wanted to do, you're not doing, and it's just, you're not incorporating all of those things and how life plays out for all of the different pieces. And so I don't know, it just got me thinking of like some of the decisions that we make in time that are just, that we think that it's a significant decision, but we think it's not significant, but then it plays out that it turns into like a big life change or a big impact. Have you guys
Yeah.
ever had anything happen like that, where you thought that the decision that you made wasn't that big of a deal, and then it plays out, well, like, oh, that was kind of a big deal?
I think that's exactly what I was telling the kids. We're one decision away, one good or bad decision away from changing our lives. So I don't know. I just feel, and I'm a quick decision maker. I don't know if the direct buy made me that way, but it's like, you know, I it really bugs me when people take a long time to make decisions. So there has been little decisions that I've made. I mean, we've all been in this situation where we're like, oh, I was going to go somewhere. There was a bad accident right on that road that I was just headed to. Like all those little silly things. Oh my God, there was a guy. This is funny. There was a guy that I'm not going to name any names, or even that I almost talked to, maybe, opened up that opportunity of conversation. And the guy ended up being like killed his girlfriend, like a whole thing. This is like way back. Like, yes. And I'm
I
like,
did not think you were going down that road with this
yes.
story.
And
I almost
I'm
dated
like,
a serial killer.
the first thing that I thought of is, oh my God, I almost started talking to that guy. I could have dated that. Like, you know, is that kind of what you're talking about here,
There
Coralyn?
could be no Jessica here right now.
Right?
No,
Yeah.
no.
So
It takes me a long time to make a decision. Like, not everything, not everything, but like, even like we talked about this, I think maybe in the last episode, like the whole silent treatment thing. Like, it takes me like a little bit to like sit in it and figure out how I'm going to react to certain situations and like what I want. And the same thing with decisions. Like, I remember, so we're going to say 3 years ago, all I really wanted was a raise, and Brad and I were dating, and he was kind of with me through this whole process of like the job that I was in, where I was like, I just want to get I just need to revamp my compensation package, and really that was the only purpose. And through that like goal of trying to get a raise, I ended up getting recruited and finding other opportunities, and then getting recruited to the job that I'm in now, that I've been in for 2 years, that I love. So it's just like,
yeah,
it like took a while
yeah,
for me
you
to
could
go
have
like,
said
oh,
no
okay.
to the recruiter, though. That was the decision you made,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
could have just said no, like many people do. Recruiters reach out and they want to have a conversation, and people don't even have the conversation. They just say no.
They're just like, nah, I'm happy. I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like in the throat. Well, I ended up getting a raise for everybody else that I left at that job.
Right.
I remember that.
Everybody else got a
it
raise,
that
but
seemed
yeah,
like
it
a
was like,
small decision, right?
but
And
it
then
was
you
just
have
like, let's see what happens, you know? Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Like, very much could have just said no.
yep.
But I feel like it took a long, it felt like it, to me, it felt like a long process of like deciding, like, do I want to leave this place I've been at for 9 years and I'm good at, and do I want to try something new? Like, there was a lot of
Comfortable,
talking.
all the things.
Yeah.
Yes.
I remember
Yes.
Coralyn was like, why are you looking for another job? And I'm like, yeah, go, just go for it. Just go.
You know
And-
what that comes to mind to me is that several years ago, I was at my current company, and I had somebody kind of similar story trying to recruit me to go to another company, and it was in another state. It was going to be a big move. I was kind of feeling a little unsettled with what I was doing, just not excited about the role that I was in, and just wanting to do something different. And through this conversation, there was a role that opened up at my current company that was exciting. And then this other opportunity in a different state was also exciting. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, just trying to
Wait, was it me? Because I remember this. Just kidding.
I'm thinking it probably was you at some point, but I'm thinking of a different friend of mine. But yeah, you both probably said the exact same thing. And and I was just sharing with my friend that I'm just like, oh, I really, I love this opportunity that I have here. We're staying here, but this other opportunity sounds really good too. And I've never moved out of state for a job, all these different things. And I'm like, I don't even know like which one's better. And she looked at me and she said, sometimes you're given two really good options, and they're not better or worse. They're just different. And you can have a really good life on either path that you take. You just need to listen and just take the one that at some point that just takes the one, pray about it, whatever, but just pick one and just go for it and go all in, right? And so I've always kind of held on to that piece of advice, is it just sometimes you just have two really good options, and there's not a bad decision.
Or do you think about what would have happened had you taken that job versus not? Is that one of your thoughts that come back to you every now and then?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple things that have happened after the fact that if we would have went out of state, one of the really big significant things is Harrison's dad, probably within us making that decision, maybe 6-8 months after, he got diagnosed with cancer, like very aggressive cancer. And so that really changed our life here, being with him. And he ended up passing away within a couple years. And so if we would have moved, we would have missed out on a lot of that those experiences that we had with his dad. So there was that. There were some different things that I'd heard about the company that was out of state that had changed. And so I think looking back in hindsight, I made the best decision to stay. But that's kind of the thing though, is like that what we're just talking about. It's hard to really evaluate that non-event because there could have been a million more exposures, decisions, adventures that we would have went on, and maybe that would have been the best decision because you just don't know all of the impact of every single little decision. The fact that Harrison would have had to have his own job and all the choices that unfolds, Grayson going into a new school, meeting new people, all the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think about that same thing with when we made the decision of moving from North Carolina back to Iowa, where I grew up, because I hadn't lived in Iowa for like 20 years. But, the kids were able to meet and hang out with their cousins. They were able to spend time with their grandparents. So I kind of the same, like had I not moved when I moved, they wouldn't have been able to capture those years with my mom and my stepdad and stuff like that. So
yeah, and it's good when
there's a lot of good things that come out of those decisions as well.
I was gonna say it's good when they're positive. I'll say one of the biggest decisions of my life was Jonathan. Like everybody was like, you got to put him up for adoption. Like you can't take care of a kid. You're freaking 15 years old. You can't barely take care of yourself. You're on the streets. You're this, that. And that decision, I believe, and I tell him this to this day, changed my entire life. Like there's no way. Like that was my wake up call. Without him, without making that decision to keep him, I could very well be dead. I could have very well like a whole different life. And I know 1000% that it would have not been good. I know that. So that was clear the path that I was going down. And so that right there, and I shared this, and I'll share it in my book, that literally not even a month before I had Jonathan, or before I was pregnant with Jonathan, I had an abortion. I made that decision. And it was like, I think back and I'm like, wow, God was like, oh no, you having a baby. You can, this
is happening.
You need to settle down.
Right?
This is going to happen.
So yeah, those are some of the most, and it's funny because that is kind of like when I think about my book, it's like these turning points. And they're usually based on a decision. Yeah, there's so much that you can't control, but even when those things come, you still have decisions to make based on what's in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so much of it too is like learning from the what ifs a little bit. I did this. What if that happened? But then what's the lesson learned?
Yeah,
that's always
I'm not dwelling on.
That's the take. I'm not doing a takeaway yet, but that's the takeaway. I think is like what if? And what did I learn?
Tend to go down this path of what if. A couple episodes we talked about being in the boring middle, where things are very ordinary. There's not a lot happening, where you kind of tend to, at least for me, kind of start wondering, and my mind wanders into kind of think like, what am I doing here? What is happening? And those voices are louder when life is quiet. And I took a picture of this line from the book, and it's towards the end, but I'm not going to spoil or what it is. But this is, the book says, the thing that looks the most ordinary might end up being the thing that leads you to victory. And I just thought that really resonated, because I think sometimes we get caught up in kind of coulda, shoulda, woulda, when it's not exciting. You're not closing the deals. You're not experiencing these huge dopamine swings. And so when things aren't happening exactly according to plan, you start thinking about, oh, I wish I would have done that differently. I wish I would have went this way versus that way. And I just think that sometimes that ordinary kind of middle, that boring middle space is sometimes required for us to sometimes regroup, rethink, and just like you might be on the right track, even though things seem really quiet.
Yeah, I know you used that word a few minutes ago, And, I say this all the time. I had someone call me yesterday, a friend that I haven't talked to in a while. And she's like, I was just thinking about you. I know something's going on. Tell us, there's always, and I'm like, I just want to live a normal, quiet, ordinary life. Those were my words that I used. But I think there's
What
just
does
some of
that
us.
actually look like to you,
I
though? I
don't know
feel
if
I don't know if that's in your DNA.
That's what I'm saying. And so I think that I don't know. God just makes certain people that that's just not, and I really should just like throw in the towel of expecting that, because I just want to wake up every day and go to work and work hard and make money and just have a quiet, ordinary life, at least for a season. Can I just get one season? And
don't you
it's just not in the card.
don't you think some of that though is our own doing, like our own boundaries and our own like habits? Because I think like we just talked this morning about like how long your workday is and stuff. And I was thinking about this like so literally this week I committed to taking a lunch break. Like I used to, at my old job for 9 years straight, I worked exactly the same schedule, and every single day from noon to 1 I took a lunch break. And I would go walk, or I'd run, or I'd get some housework done, or I'd garden, or whatever. I had a whole hour of this time, and I did it, and everyone knew. And for whatever reason, with the position I have now, I don't do that anymore. My lunch, but like that time just rolls into the next hour, and then you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't eaten today, I haven't gotten away from my computer today, or I travel, so it's just like, oh my gosh, what. Anyway, literally this week it was like, no, I am going to stop working for an hour in the middle of the day and make myself stop working and don't look at my phone. And Brad said something really intelligent. He's like, you're the one who's training your people to do that. He's like, you're the one who's training them that anytime they text you or call you, that you're going to get back to them within a few minutes.
Yeah.
You're doing that. Like, the guys that call you at 9 o'clock at night to talk about the project for the next day and you answer the phone, you're doing that. Absolutely. And so just those boundaries and those like creating the expectations on your own. Yes. Sorry, I got off on a tangent a little bit on that, but it literally just happened this week. It's like, you got to make it. You got to do it. You have to make it.
I agree with all that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the
I'm on a whole different thing.
that I, with kind of the other stuff I was talking about this, just the craziness that happens where I'm just responding. These aren't like, I'm not talking about working late hours. I'm talking about, I didn't make people do shady shit around me. And, I had to speak up for myself. To me, that's not an option. Speaking up for myself is not an option. So those are the type of things that I'm like, what can I just have an ordinary, quiet, but
can drama not follow you?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So no quiet.
You almost have to to have a day of quiet. Like, I was wondering, like, if either one of you didn't have your computer, your phone, literally could not work, could not look at social media, could not do anything except for, sit on a beach and look at the water or read your book or whatever. Like, what would you do? Do you think you can handle a day of that?
Yeah.
I'm going to read my book.
Oh, trust me, I'm going to get there. I'm going to get there.
It's a discipline though of creating those habits, and this is definitely a tangent, but
sorry.
Maybe a couple years ago I would say absolutely not, but I've done it now. Went on vacation and I read a book for a day, and it didn't feel horrible.
So you could do it. I
could do it. I could do it. The other piece of this book that I want to talk about though is that in the book, and again, not a spoiler, comes up pretty early on, is that this girl, this main character, gets to page through her book of regrets. So the things, and it's a huge thick book of all the things, like the decisions that she wished she would have made. And so this book of coulda, shoulda, woulda. What I want to segue into is that I think we all maybe have this little book of regrets. Like, I wish this would have happened this way. And maybe it's not regrets. Maybe it's just the wonderings of, I wonder what if. But how do we shape our life, and how do we move through from this point on where we live with fewer regrets? How do we go down that path of not fantasizing about, oh man, I wish I would have had that life or would have done this. Like my life would have been different. But how do we set up our life now where we're excited about the decisions that we made, good, bad, or indifferent? Like you are, Jess. I think that your story about Jonathan just like is just so, it just emphasizes this idea is just life could have been different. And I think a lot of people would say like my life would have been way better had I not had a child at 15. But you said that like my life could not have been better if I didn't have him, right? And so how do you live
Um,
with fewer regrets?
I was going to say, as you were talking about this big book of regrets, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm grateful that I don't even know if mine is enough for a book. I don't, and maybe that's just I've trained myself to think that way. I don't know. I humbly say this. I just feel like I've made some um pretty decent decisions in the overall scheme of things. Like I could look back and say, you know what? I'm on my third husband. Those first two probably were a waste of time, but they also didn't last too long. So I look back and it's not like I was in it for 5 years or I don't even know 2 years. So, it's, I don't have a lot of those. So how do you not have many regrets? I would say to just make better decisions in the first place.
But Jessica, I'm going to challenge you on this. But so what about, so let's take something specific. Like you have talked about a lot about wanting to own property, and there's probably some decisions that you've made that could have gotten to you. So you could have been through a series of decisions sitting on many properties right now had you made maybe hopped into the real estate market versus
Sure.
going into a corporate job, or just took that risk and became an entrepreneur out of the gate and not been tied to a company. So
Yep.
those kind of things are, are any of those things that you feel like are, I wish I would have done this
Yes.
differently?
However, but that's why I said I think it's a mindset. Again, I'm not saying I don't make bad decisions because let me be clear, but I'm saying if I took every decision I've ever made and had it put in front of me in a big tank, I think that the good ones would outweigh what I'm viewing as the bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll take that as an example. Um, I could look at that and say, in the next, just like I'll, for all our listeners, and we'll have this recorded. Um, we will have a property by the end of this year, beginning of next year, the latest. Okay, that's for sure. I can look back and say, well, I could have done that 10 years ago. For me, sometimes something that is just put off is different than something that doesn't happen at all. So I really think it's really
Mm-hmm.
how what your perception of it is. I look at my life and say, overall, I've made some good decisions. And if I break them down into financial, spiritual, relationship, like all of those, and why? Because I look at decisions and my first thing is I'm asking God. Do I always listen? Absolutely not. And most of the time, very much knowingly. But I think it's to answer your question is to have a good decision process in place. And really, I make decisions quickly, but I still have a process. And owning your decisions. Once you make that decision, saying, okay, now I have to own this decision and put my best foot forward in it. Because you can make a decision that may not seem like a great decision and it turns into a really good decision just because of how you walk through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
She could have took that job and been like, oh, well, this is a whole new industry and just given up. And then she would have looked back and said, that was a bad move. I could have stayed where I should have stayed where I was. But no, she took ownership of her decision. So I think that's part of it too. And then maybe I do have a short term memory when it comes to the
Maybe
bad
I'm just
decisions.
losing my mind.
So
I
all of
just
those
block out
things,
the
right?
ones that didn't work out.
There you go. And all of
I
those things help with no regret.
Yeah. I was going to say, oh, you were going down the same path I was thinking, because, her question is really like, how do we avoid like regret? Like, how are we supposed to have like less regrets
Yeah,
or whatever?
shut the book out.
But I
Shut
think,
the book of regret.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you do that? And I think it's so much of it is the surrounding yourself with people who have your best interest in heart. I think that is a big key, because you can sit there in your own head and try to change your life, make decisions, regret things, think about things that "Yeah, I would have done this differently," or whatever. You can sit there in your own head with that. But when you vocalize it and you talk to someone who actually cares about you and has your best interest at heart, they can help you get through where you think you were going to go with this, or what could have happened, or what should I've done, or whatever. Vocalizing it with someone else who actually cares about you, I think is like that. I think it helps us avoid regret, because there's more than one person, there's more than one perspective. And also having that tribe of people, or maybe having a couple people that are different than you, um, and vocalizing your let's say decision that you need to make, or your situation, or whatever it is with them, and getting different perspectives is huge. I mean, I personally, I would say most of the hard conversations I've had to have, or most of the hard decisions I've had to make in my life, I don't feel regret, because I was able to speak with someone about it and actually work through whatever that, we'll say quote unquote problem was, with someone who had my best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I think a big part of it too is fear. Man, I tell you, fear is
Yeah. Yes.
it is like I guarantee you, if someone was really real with themselves, most of the things that they regret is due to fear.
Yeah, I
You
agree.
understand how to overcome fear and look fear in the face. Like, I talk to so many people, and I'm telling you, fear just messes so many things up. And I think it really is in the forefront of regret.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there. You can't, you're not going to avoid it.
No, you're human.
It's there.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what came to mind for me is that I feel like regret, quote unquote, comes up when your goals or your priorities are out of alignment. Because I think that I have been chasing a goal and realizing when I feel like I haven't met that, is that because my goals are changing where I want it. So like the end game is changing. And so like, oh, I was thinking I was heading towards wanting to be successful in my career, for example, but I also am regretting like not spending time or enough time with my son, right? Where I start regretting things like, okay, well, now I want to focus on the time that I spend with my son. And there's a little bit of a give and take, and you don't always have this. You can give yourself the freedom and the grace to be able to change what that end goal is, and it doesn't have to land into a regret bucket. It can land into a prioritization, whatever I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, and it's
Yeah.
and to your point, Jess,
That's
it's just
it,
how you
mindset.
reframe it. It's not
Yeah.
a miss. It's just getting better aligned with where you're at now, and that can change.
Yeah.
But I feel like to sum it up for me is that the life of fear or regrets are when you have your priorities in alignment, when you take some time and figure out where exactly it is that you're heading, because then you're going to have all these opportunities and all these choices, and you'll feel better about your choices and saying yes or no to things if they're moving you closer to ultimately where you want to go.
I'm going to sum it up by basically what I said is I don't spend much time wondering what would have happened if I had chosen differently. I stand on the decisions that I made because I know that I made the best choice that I could with the knowledge I had at the time. Even when things didn't work out the way I expected, I believe that God used every experience for good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else, ladies, that we have to say on choice?
I'm gonna leave you guys with is what I said earlier, where it's like, you can't change it at this point anyway, so stop. Don't waste those thoughts.
Right? Think of something.
You can't change it. Learn from it, and just let it go.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, there you have it. So just to close, I just want to reinforce that for everyone that's listening, you are not behind. You are, and you're not a sum of every single decision that you could take back if you could. And there's different lives that we have. Some maybe could be worse, some maybe could be better, but you are here because we're making the best decision we can with the information that we have. And sometimes you have more information after that decision has passed,
Yeah.
but but it's all in the frame of mind. So keep with it, keep moving, keep on purpose. So if this episode hit a little bit, somebody that is living in their book of regrets and needs to shut it, please share this episode with them, like us, subscribe. We are at leadlikeagirllab.com. We've got lots of Lead Like a Girl merchandise on there. So give that a look and a purchase, and start sharing this mission and this movement of empowering everyday women through our stories. Please follow us on anywhere you listen to podcasts. And when we get together next week, we've got another great conversation on how we can all start leading like a girl. We'll see you next week.